My mother slapped me in front of 200 wedding guests. The crack echoed through the silent hall. "You're a disgrace to this family," she hissed. My sister stood frozen in white, one hand pressed against the belly she'd been hiding for months. I didn't cry. I leaned close and whispered 8 words. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her trembling fingers and shattered on the marble floor. What I knew about that pregnancy would destroy everything she'd spent 36 years protecting. Have you ever held a secret powerful enough to burn your entire family to the ground? The stories on this channel are created solely for entertainment, educational, and storytelling purposes. While some stories are inspired by real situations submitted by viewers via email, most details have been fictionalized, combined, or altered. My name is Amanda Lopez. I'm 36 years old, a senior financial analyst at a respected accounting firm, and for most of my life, I believed I was the problem in my family. It took me 36 years to learn the truth and 2 weeks to decide what to do with it. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday. No phone call beforehand, no personal note tucked inside, just my name printed as guest beneath the elegant script announcing Sophia's marriage to Daniel Harrison. No role in the bridal party, no acknowledgement that the bride was my sister. I noticed the date immediately. 4 months from engagement to wedding. Even by modern standards, that seemed rushed. I called Sophia to congratulate her. She answered on the 5th ring, her voice tight and strange. "Mom's handling everything," she said quickly. "Just please come okay. It would look bad if you didn't." Before I could ask what was wrong, she hung up. That night, memories I usually kept locked away came flooding back. My 16th birthday forgotten entirely because Sophia had a cold. The acceptance letter to my dream university dismissed because the family needed that money for Sophia's future. My promotion last year met with my mother's cold response, "I suppose someone has to do those kinds of jobs." But the neglect wasn't what hurt most. It was the contrast. My father, Henry, had loved me fiercely and unconditionally. He attended every school play. He helped with every homework assignment. He held me when I cried. When he died 5 years ago, I lost the only person in my family who ever made me feel wanted. My mother looked at me with something close to revulsion, not disappointment revulsion, as if my very existence offended her. I spent 36 years wondering what I'd done wrong. The answer was waiting in my father's study. After his death, I'd been tasked with sorting through his papers. I'd done it in a grief-stricken haze, storing boxes I never fully examined. Now, prompted by Sophia's strange behavior, I pulled out one labeled "personal" in my father's handwriting. What I found inside stopped my heart. A DNA test from 30 years ago. 2 names, Henry Lopez and Amanda Lopez. Result 0% probability of biological relationship. My father knew. He knew I wasn't his biological child, and he loved me anyway. Beneath that, I found a handwritten note in his careful script. "She is my daughter in every way that matters. The man who fathered her has no claim to her heart." There was more. Documents that must have been my mother's hidden here for safekeeping years ago. A DNA test invoice with Sophia's name dated just 3 months ago. A loan agreement for $280,000 at 18% interest. A ledger notebook filled with my mother's handwriting monthly payments spanning decades to something called RC Consulting LLC. An old letter with a chilling message. "The price of silence has gone up. $2,000 a month starting January. R." My hands trembled. My analytical mind started connecting dots I didn't fully understand yet. Someone had been bleeding my mother dry for my entire life, and now Sophia needed a paternity test 3 months before her rushed wedding. I tried to warn Daniel quietly. I called his office. Voicemail. I sent a careful text asking to speak privately. 2 days later, my mother called instead. "I've already warned him about you," Gloria said, her voice like ice. I told him you have mental health issues, that you've always been jealous of your sister. He won't be taking your calls. She'd poisoned him against me before I could say a word. I spread the documents across my kitchen table. My father's love letter to me, my mother's decades of secret payments, Sophia's recent DNA test. Daniel Harrison had once helped me when I had nothing. Now he was walking into a trap. If my mother had already destroyed my credibility, I would have to find another way. I picked up the wedding invitation and read the venue address. I would be there, and I would not stay silent. The Harrison estate was everything I expected, and nothing I belonged to. Rolling green lawns, white tents with crystal chandeliers, roses cascading from every surface. 200 guests in designer clothes, champagne flowing like water. And me directed to the back row by an usher who didn't recognize me as the bride's sister. He seated me behind Sophia's coworkers, behind college friends she hadn't spoken to in years, behind people who were essentially strangers. The message was clear. I was there for appearances only. I watched my sister walk down the aisle in an elaborate gown that must have cost more than my monthly salary. She looked beautiful, radiant, every inch the blushing bride. But I noticed what others missed, the strategic draping around her midsection, the empire waist designed to conceal rather than flatter. With my analytical eye and the context of that DNA test invoice, I saw what the dress was hiding. Sophia was at least 5 months pregnant. I'd suspected at the engagement party when she refused wine claiming a stomach bug. Now I was certain. The ceremony passed in a blur of vows and promises built on lies. When Daniel kissed his bride, the crowd erupted in applause. I sat in silence, my stomach churning with what I knew and what I still had to do. At the reception, I watched for any opportunity to speak with Daniel alone. Every time I moved toward him, something blocked my path. Gloria materializing to redirect conversations. Sophia pulling Daniel away for photographs. Groomsmen demanding his attention for toasts. It was choreographed. My mother had anticipated this. Finally, during a lull between speeches, I caught Daniel near the bar. "Daniel, I need to speak with you," I said quietly. "Privately. It's important." His expression flickered with discomfort. "Amanda, look, Gloria mentioned you might be going through some things." He chose his words carefully. "Maybe this isn't the best time." "Daniel, please, just 5 minutes." Before he could respond, Gloria appeared at my elbow. Her fingers gripped my arm with painful pressure nails, digging through the fabric of my dress. "Amanda, darling, let's not bother the groom with family drama on his special day." Her smile was perfect for the cameras. Her eyes promised violence. Daniel looked relieved to escape. He excused himself and disappeared into the crowd. Gloria's grip tightened until I knew there would be bruises tomorrow. "I warned you," she hissed. "One more step out of line and I will destroy you." She released me and glided away. I retreated toward the garden doors, trying to regroup. Through the glass, I watched the reception unfold like a beautiful performance. Then I noticed Sophia slip away from Daniel's side, her face pale, phone pressed to her ear. She hurried outside toward the hedges. I followed at a distance. I found her behind a tall hedge, not on a call, but staring at her phone screen, tears streaming down her face. From where I stood, I could see the text conversation with someone saved as M. Sophia had written, "I wish you were here. I wish things were different." The response, "You made your choice. Just remember whose baby that really is." Sophia, "Please don't say that." M. "Goodbye, Sophia. Don't contact me again." I watched my sister delete the entire conversation, wipe her face, and transform herself back into the blushing bride. She walked past me without seeing me, returning to Daniel, with a smile that betrayed nothing. I remained frozen in the garden. Sophia wasn't just lying. She was grieving, trapped too, making a terrible choice under terrible pressure. That didn't excuse the deception, but it complicated everything. I returned to the reception as the speeches began. Daniel's best man delivered a warm toast. Margaret Harrison spoke briefly about welcoming Sophia into the family, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Then Gloria approached me. "Your turn, Amanda. I've put you on the speech list." I wasn't told I needed to prepare a speech. "It's not complicated." She pressed a folded note card into my hand. "Just read this." I unfolded it. The card contained a scripted speech. "My sister Sophia and Daniel have been in love since the moment they met over a year ago. Their devotion to each other has been an inspiration to our whole family." A year ago. Daniel and Sophia had met 6 months ago. "I'm not reading this," I said quietly. Gloria's smile didn't waver, but her voice dropped to a whisper. "You will read it, or I will tell everyone here that you're an unstable woman who tried to sabotage your sister's happiness because you can't stand that she succeeded where you failed." "None of that is true. Truth doesn't matter. Perception does." "I won't lie for you." Something shifted in her expression. Fear. Beneath all that control and cruelty, my mother was afraid. She needed this wedding. She needed Daniel's family's money. Her hand shot out and grabbed my arm, pulling me toward a side hallway. The movement was sharp aggressive. I stumbled against a serving table. A tower of champagne glasses wobbled dangerously. "Let go of me." My voice rose before I could stop it. "Keep your voice down." Her grip tightened. "You will not destroy this wedding." "I'm not trying to destroy anything. I'm trying to prevent Daniel from being trapped in a lie." The champagne tower tipped. Glass shattered across the marble floor. The crash echoed through the reception hall. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. In the sudden silence, my mother's voice carried further than she intended. "You have always been a disappointment. No husband, no children, nothing to show for yourself. And now you want to ruin the one daughter I can actually be proud of." The words hung in the air. 200 guests stared at us with shock pity and the hungry expression of people witnessing drama they would gossip about for months. Something shifted inside me. 36 years of silence. 36 years of wondering what I did wrong. 36 years of accepting her hatred as something I deserved. No more. I stepped close to my mother and spoke quietly, but in the shocked silence, everyone nearby could hear. "I know about the DNA test. I know about the $280,000. I know about the payments to RC that have been draining you for 36 years. I paused. "And I know what the DNA test Dad did 30 years ago proved." Gloria's face went white, like all the blood had drained from her body at once. You can't." "I have Dad's documents. All of them." She swayed. A waiter rushed forward to steady her, catching a glass that slipped from her trembling fingers. Daniel pushed through the crowd. "What's going on here?" I looked at him. This decent man who once helped me when he had no reason to. This kind person about to bind his life to a foundation of lies. I looked at Sophia frozen near the head table, one hand pressed protectively against her stomach. I looked at my mother trembling with fear and fury, and I made my choice. I walked to the head table where the microphone sat on its stand. I picked it up. The sound system crackled to life. "I apologize for the disruption." My voice was steady, carrying across the silent hall. "But I believe there's something the groom needs to know before this marriage is finalized. Something he has a right to know." Daniel stepped forward. "Whatever you're about to say, I want to hear it." My mother found her voice. "Daniel, don't listen to her. She's mentally unstable. She's always been jealous of Mom." I cut her off. My voice calm for the first time in my life. "You've spent my whole life making me invisible. Tonight I'm going to be heard." I turned to face the groom. "Daniel, I have 3 things to tell you, and I'm sorry you have to learn them this way." 200 guests held their breath. My mother started toward me, but Daniel held up his hand. "Wait." His voice was firm. "I want to hear this." He looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read, then at Gloria, whose carefully composed face had crumbled into something desperate, then at Sophia, who hadn't stopped crying since I picked up the microphone. "Amanda," he said slowly, "I've known you for 3 years. You've never struck me as unstable or vindictive. So whatever you're about to say, I'm listening." I nodded, grateful and terrified in equal measure. "Thank you, Daniel. I want you to know I'm not doing this to hurt anyone. I'm doing this because you helped me once when you had no reason to, and I owe you the truth before you make the biggest decision of your life." I turned to face the room, but spoke directly to him. "Let me start with a question. Daniel, when did you and Sophia first become intimate?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Daniel's face reddened. "That's personal." "I know, but it's relevant. Please." Sophia's voice cut through, ragged and desperate. "Don't answer that, Daniel. Don't, Sophia." Daniel's voice was quiet but strained. "Why shouldn't I answer?" Silence fell over the room like a heavy blanket. I continued gently. "Let me make this easier. You and Sophia have been together for 6 months. Based on what she told you, I'm guessing you haven't been fully intimate yet. Perhaps she said she wanted to wait until marriage." Daniel's expression shifted. I watched something click into place behind his eyes. "How did you know that?" "Because Sophia needed that story. She needed you to believe it was possible the baby would be yours once you found out she was pregnant." "Pregnant?" Daniel looked at Sophia. "You're what?" Sophia's hand moved to her stomach in that unconscious, protective gesture I had noticed before. "She's approximately 5 months along, Daniel. I noticed during the ceremony. The dress was designed to conceal it, but I know what to look for." I paused. "There's a DNA test invoice in my mother's files, dated 3 months ago, prenatal paternity testing." Margaret Harrison rose slowly from her seat at the family table. Her face was pale but composed. "Sophia, is this true?" Sophia crumbled. The facade shattered completely. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. Marcus left, and Mom said this was the only way, and I was so scared." Daniel stepped back from her as if she had become a stranger. "Marcus." "Who's Marcus?" "My ex. We were together for 8 months. I found out I was pregnant after we broke up. He didn't want anything to do with it. And then Mom arranged for me to meet you, and you were so kind, and I thought maybe—" She couldn't finish. Daniel was shaking now. He turned to my mother. "Gloria, you knew about this." Gloria had recovered some composure, but her hands were trembling. "Daniel, let me explain. You knew your daughter was pregnant with another man's child, and you arranged for her to meet me." I interposed, my voice steady. "It's worse than that, Daniel. Let me tell you why." I turned to face my mother fully. "For the past 36 years, my mother has been making monthly payments to someone. Thousands of dollars a month. I found her records going back decades. Whatever this is, it's been bleeding her dry financially." Gasps from the older guests who understood what that kind of money meant over time. 6 months ago, she took out a loan, $280,000 at 18% interest. Desperate money. She needed a way out. Gloria's voice was barely a whisper. "Stop. The Harrison family is wealthy, generous. After the wedding, Daniel and Sophia would have received substantial support, a house, financial backing, opportunities." I paused. That money was going to save her. This wedding wasn't about love, it was a financial transaction. Daniel looked at Gloria with dawning horror. "You used my family. You used me. As what, a bailout plan? I was trying to protect Sophia." Gloria's voice broke. "I was trying to give her a future. By building it on lies." I could have revealed everything in that moment. The identity of RC. The truth about my own parentage. The full scope of the 36-year blackmail. But I hesitated, because revealing all of that meant revealing myself. My illegitimacy, the fact that I didn't know who my biological father was. In this room full of strangers that felt like too much exposure. And I realized something else. the deepest truth wasn't for this audience. It was for my mother and for myself. "There's more," I said quietly. "About the payments, about what they're for, about other things." I looked at Gloria. "But that's between us. It's not Daniel's burden to carry." Gloria's eyes widened with desperate hope. "Amanda, I'm not protecting you." My voice was flat. "I'm protecting myself. Daniel now knows enough to make an informed decision. That's all I came here to do." I set down the microphone. "Daniel, I'm sorry. Truly. You deserved better than this." The room erupted into chaos. Margaret Harrison took charge, her voice cutting through the noise. "This reception is over. I'd like all guests to please excuse us while we sort through this situation." Her tone made it clear this was not a request. Guests began shuffling out, murmuring phones emerging from pockets and purses. This story would be all over town by morning. Daniel stood alone in the center of the emptying hall. Sophia reached for him. He stepped away. "Don't," he said quietly. "Just don't." He removed his boutonniere and set it on the nearest table. Then he walked to where I stood by the door. "Thank you," he said. His voice was hollow, devastated, but sincere. "I wish you'd found a way to tell me sooner, but I know you tried." He glanced back at Gloria. "She made sure I wouldn't listen. I'm sorry this was the only way." "Yeah." He almost laughed a broken sound. "Yeah, me too." He walked out. A moment later, the sound of a car engine starting, then gone. Gloria stood motionless in the ruins of her careful plans. Sophia had collapsed into a chair, sobbing. The Harrison family huddled together, Margaret speaking in a low, furious voice to her husband. I gathered my purse. I had nothing left to say here. I was almost to the door when Gloria's voice stopped me. "You think you've won?" Her voice was raw, stripped of all pretense. "You've destroyed everything. Your sister's future, our family's reputation, everything." I turned. "No, Mom. You destroyed it. 36 years ago. I just stopped helping you hide the wreckage." I walked out into the night. The cool air hit my face as I stepped outside. Behind me, I could hear Gloria shouting something, Sophia wailing the murmur of remaining guests processing what they had witnessed. I walked to my car on shaking legs, sat behind the wheel, let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for 36 years. It was done. But as I reached for my keys, I realized it wasn't done. Not really. I still didn't know who RC was. I still didn't know why those payments had consumed my mother's life. I still didn't know who my biological father was, or why my mother had hated me from the day I was born. The wedding was destroyed. The immediate lie was exposed, but the deeper truth, the one that explained everything, was still waiting to be uncovered. And somehow I knew my mother would have to be the one to tell it. The weeks that followed the wedding brought consequences I had anticipated, and some I had not. Daniel requested a prenatal DNA test. The results confirmed what everyone already knew. He was not the father. The Harrison family attorney sent a formal letter to my mother making clear that all verbal agreements and promised support were permanently rescinded. Margaret Harrison had mentioned to friends about helping Daniel and Sophia purchase their first home. That promise evaporated overnight. But the most devastating blow for my mother was not financial. It was social. The Harrisons had substantial influence in our community. Word spread with quiet, devastating efficiency. Gloria Lopez had tried to trap their son in a fraudulent marriage. The charitable foundation board my mother had served on for 15 years requested her resignation. Her weekly bridge group, the one she had belonged to for 2 decades, stopped inviting her. At the grocery store, former friends pretended not to see her. The reputation she had maintained for 36 years at enormous financial cost crumbled in a matter of weeks. Sophia moved back into my mother's house, which was now being listed for sale to pay debts. She tried to contact Marcus. His response came via text. "I told you when you got pregnant that I wasn't ready to be a father. That hasn't changed. You made your choices. I'm not part of this. For the first time in 28 years, my sister had no one to rescue her. No mother orchestrating solutions. No wealthy fiancé to provide security. No ex-boyfriend willing to step up. She called me 2 weeks after the wedding. I know you probably hate me. Her voice was small, nothing like the confident sister I had grown up resenting. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Not because I want anything from you, just because you deserved an apology a long time ago, and no one ever gave you one. I listened without interrupting. I didn't know, Sophia continued, about the payments, about whatever Mom's been hiding. I just knew she was scared all the time, and she said this was the only way. She was crying now. I'm not saying that excuse is anything. I just was so scared, Amanda. I didn't know what else to do. I know, I said finally. I know you were scared, but being scared doesn't give you the right to sacrifice someone else to save yourself. I know. Silence stretched between us. What are you going to do now? I asked. I don't know. Figure it out, I guess. For the first time ever, figure something out on my own. Good, I said, and I meant it. That's actually good, Sophia. I didn't offer to help. I didn't offer forgiveness, but I also didn't hang up in anger. It was a boundary. The first real one our relationship had ever had. 3 weeks after the wedding, my mother showed up at my apartment, unannounced. She looked 20 years older than she had a month ago. Her clothes hung loosely on her frame. Her hair was unwashed. The woman who had always been so obsessed with appearances had stopped caring about them entirely. We need to talk, she said. I considered shutting the door in her face. Instead, I stepped aside. Yes, we do. She sat in my small living room, surrounded by evidence of a life I had built independently. Photos of friends, books stacked on shelves, a modest but comfortable space, everything she had never provided. You've ruined me, she said. I hope you're satisfied. I'm not here for satisfaction. I sat across from her. I'm here for answers. I placed the documents on the coffee table between us. The DNA test my father had conducted 30 years ago. The payment ledger, the blackmail letter signed with an Who is RC? I asked. Why have you been paying him since before I was born? And why does the DNA test Dad did show I'm not his biological daughter? My mother stared at the papers. For a long moment, I thought she would refuse to answer, that she would maintain the lie until her last breath. Then something broke inside her. His name is Richard Calloway, she said, her voice hollow. 36 years ago, he was my boss. I was young, stupid, flattered by the attention of a successful, powerful man. He was married. I knew that. I didn't care. She took a shaky breath. I got pregnant. When I told him, he made it clear he would never leave his wife. My parents found out. They were traditional. They couldn't bear the scandal of an unwed mother. They arranged for me to marry Henry quickly. He was a good man, decent. He didn't ask too many questions. But Richard found out. 2 years after you were born, someone told him, and he came to me with an offer. Monthly payments, or he would tell Henry everything. Tell our families, tell the whole community that Gloria Martinez had trapped a good man into raising another man's child. The word she used was uglier than that. It hung in the air between us. So you paid him every month for 36 years, even when it meant we couldn't afford things, even when I had to borrow, even when, she stopped, even when it meant you couldn't afford to love me. My voice was quiet. My mother looked at me then, really looked at me, for what might have been the first time in my life. I didn't hate you because of anything you did, she whispered. I hated you because every time I looked at you, I saw him. I saw my worst mistake. I saw the reason I had been paying and never getting free. You were the price of the stupidest decision I ever made. I absorbed this. The answer to 36 years of confusion. Did Dad know? He figured it out when you were 6, found one of Richard's letters. I thought he would leave me." Her voice broke. "He didn't. He said you were his daughter, and nothing would change that. He never treated you differently. If anything, he loved you more after that, like he was trying to make up for what I couldn't give you." I thought of my father, his quiet kindness, the way he had always seemed to see me, really see me when my mother looked right through me. "He was a good man," I said. "He deserved better than you." She flinched but didn't argue. I sat with this truth. My biological father was a man who had extorted my mother for decades, a man who chose blackmail over any form of responsibility. I could find Richard Calloway, expose him. The statute of limitations on recent extortion payments hadn't expired. With my mother's records and testimony, he could face prosecution. But that would mean dragging everything into public view. My own illegitimacy, my mother's weakness, my father's quiet sacrifice. More importantly, it would mean becoming defined by Richard Calloway, spending years focused on a man who had never wanted me. "I'm not going to expose Richard," I said finally. My mother's head snapped up. "You're not for your sake, for mine. I refuse to spend another day of my life shaped by your secrets or his greed." I gathered the documents. "But these are mine now, my history. If Richard Calloway ever tries to contact me or use me in any way, I won't hesitate." "I won't manipulate you again," my mother whispered. "I have nothing left." I looked at this woman who had made me feel invisible and worthless for my entire life. Part of me hated her, but mostly I felt exhaustion and the faintest flicker of pity. "I understand why you made the choices you made 36 years ago," I said. "I don't forgive you for how you treated me every day since. That was your choice, again and again." I opened the door. "Goodbye, Mom. I hope you find peace, but you'll have to find it without me." She left. I closed the door and breathed. 6 weeks later, I received a news alert for Richard Calloway. The headline read, "Local developer's wife files for divorce after anonymous tip reveals decades of hidden payments." Someone had sent his wife detailed evidence of his blackmail scheme. She was expected to receive the majority of their assets in the divorce. I didn't know who sent the information. Maybe my mother finally fighting back. Maybe someone else Richard had victimized. Maybe the universe simply had a sense of justice. I closed the browser tab. Some debts come due eventually, whether or not anyone is there to collect. 6 months passed. My life looked different now, not dramatically different. I didn't win the lottery or move to Paris or find a prince, but the quality of my days had transformed in ways I never expected. I received a promotion at work. My boss cited my exceptional analytical skills and unwavering integrity. The same qualities that had helped me unravel my mother's secrets had finally been recognized professionally. I had a corner office now with a window overlooking the city. My apartment felt different too, warmer somehow. I had started hosting small dinner parties, something I never had the emotional energy for before. Friends from work, from my building, from a book club, I finally had the courage to join. Real friendships, chosen connections, people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they felt obligated. I was dating someone, a man named James, a high school principal I met at a mutual friend's party. Nothing dramatic, just a kind man who asked good questions, laughed at my jokes, and seemed genuinely interested in who I was. We were taking it slow. I had learned to be cautious with my heart, but I had also learned to be open, to believe I deserved good things. I maintained my distance from my family, but I heard things through the community grapevine. My mother had sold the family home and moved into a small apartment. She lived quietly now, no more charity boards, no more social clubs. She attended church and worked part-time at a local library. I didn't know if this was penance or just survival. Richard Calloway's divorce had been finalized. His wife received 70% of their assets, His adult children hadn't spoken to him since the revelations became public. He wouldn't go to prison, but he would spend his remaining years diminished, isolated, and stripped of everything he valued. It wasn't courtroom justice, but it was real and permanent. Sophia had given birth to a healthy baby boy 3 months ago. She named him Henry after the grandfather he would never meet. She was living in a small rental apartment, working as a receptionist at a dental office, the first real job she had ever had. She was learning at 28 what most people learn at 18. That actions have consequences, that no one is coming to save you, but she was doing it. Imperfectly, messily, but genuinely. On a Sunday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Happy birthday, Amanda! I hope you have a good day." It was my 37th birthday. I hadn't expected her to remember. 6 months ago, I would have ignored it. 6 months before that, I would have felt obligated to respond with forced warmth. Now, I texted back simply, "Thank you, Sophia. I hope you and Henry are doing well." That was all. No extended conversation, no invitation to reconnect, just acknowledgement, civil distance, healthy boundaries. This was what it looked like to move forward without moving backward. That evening, I was going through old boxes when I found something I had missed before. An envelope tucked into one of my father's old books. My name written on the front in his handwriting. Inside was a letter dated 5 years ago, shortly before he died. "My dearest Amanda, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and somehow you found what I tried to protect you from. I'm sorry. I thought I had more time to tell you myself. I want you to know the truth, not because it changes anything, but because you deserve to understand. You are not my biological daughter. I discovered this when you were 6 years old. What matters is this. From the moment I found out, I made a choice. I chose you, not out of obligation, but because you were already my daughter in every way that mattered. Your first steps were toward me. Your first word was Dada. Your hand reached for mine when you were scared. Biology is an accident. Love is a choice. And I chose you, Amanda. Every single day for 30 years, I chose you. I know your mother has been difficult. I know you felt like an outsider in your own family. I wish I could have fixed that. But please know this. You were never a burden. You were never a mistake. You were never unwanted, not by me. You are kind and smart and strong and good. You are everything I ever hoped you would be. I'm proud of you, Amanda. I always have been. Love forever, Dad." I read the letter 3 times. Then I held it against my chest and cried. Not just from grief, from gratitude, from the overwhelming realization that I had been chosen, loved, wanted. I had spent 36 years wondering what I did wrong. The answer, it turned out, was nothing. Later that night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, watching the city lights flicker to life. I thought about the woman I used to be, silent, invisible, always trying to earn love that was never going to be given. I thought about the woman I was now, someone who speaks the truth, who sets boundaries, who chooses herself without apology. The victory was never about revenge. It was never about watching my mother suffer or seeing Richard Calloway brought low. The real victory was quieter, more personal. It was knowing I was never the villain of my mother's story. I was just the evidence. And evidence doesn't deserve punishment. It just deserves to exist. I raised my glass to the night sky. "Happy birthday to me," I said quietly. My phone buzzed. A text from James. "You deserve beautiful things, Amanda. Dinner tomorrow," I smiled. "I'd like that." The city hummed with life below my balcony. Somewhere out there, people were fighting and loving and making mistakes and trying again. But Amanda Lopez, finally free, finally understood, finally home, felt something she hadn't felt in 36 years. Peace. Some families are bound by blood. Real families are bound by choice. My father chose me. And in the end, I chose myself. That's the only revenge that matters. Amanda's story teaches us something important that many of us need to hear. You are not responsible for the secrets other people keep. You are not defined by the love that was withheld from you. And you are never too old to choose yourself, to speak your truth, and to walk away from people who make you feel invisible. Sometimes the family that raises us cannot love us the way we deserve. That doesn't mean we are unlovable. It means we must build our own family from people who choose us just as Amanda's father chose her every single day. If you have ever felt like the outsider in your own home, if you have ever wondered what you did wrong to deserve coldness from the people who should love you most, please know this: the problem was never you. Real love doesn't come with conditions. Real family doesn't make you earn your place at the table. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. We would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had to set boundaries with toxic family members? Have you ever discovered a secret that changed everything you thought you knew? Share your experience with us. Your story matters too.
Tại bọn em không với tới.